Eli Stokols, national politics reporter for Politico, is in Arlington, Virginia. Thanks so much for joining us, Eli. Who needs to win Wisconsin more, Cruz or Trump?
Cruz. I think if Cruz can't win Wisconsin, especially given all the advantages there, then really Trump is still on path to get to the 1,237 delegates he needs to win the nomination outright. And really, it's a huge setback for the Never Trump movement because there has been this coalescing around Ted Cruz, a lot of people holding their nose and saying that they will support this senator who's really been a thorn in their side for the last 4 years, someone they never imagined they would support. But in this scenario, he's the only vehicle, the anti-Trump vehicle, that can get them to a convention and deny Trump from hitting that delegate threshold. And so there's momentum behind him on that side, and also Wisconsin is more fertile soil for somebody like Ted Cruz, or for maybe, I suppose, less fertile for someone like Donald Trump, because in Wisconsin, because of all those battles that they've had over Scott Walker, the reforms against the teachers union, then the recall election, then Walker's reelect, there's a lot more unity there between the grassroots and the so-called establishment, because Scott Walker has delivered for conservatives. They don't look at him as sort of some establishment stooge who's holding down the governor's mansion, not really doing anything for them. Talk radio there has really been the foot soldiers for Scott Walker, for a lot of the high-level statewide elected officials on the Republican side. And the Republican base there, at least in southeastern Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin, rather, those folks where those radio signals reach, there's really a lot of unanimity about, Scott Walker has approval ratings in the 80s down there. Trump comes into town bashing Scott Walker. And I think you can just see some clear battle lines drawn, and where most of the Republican votes lie in Wisconsin, that is not going to be Trump country. He may do very well in the outlying areas up north and to the west, the more rural areas, rural parts of the state. But by and large, Ted Cruz has some sort of fundamental advantages in Wisconsin and in the race at this point, given how much consolidation of the anti-Trump movement we've seen behind him. And so if he doesn't win tomorrow night, that will be a huge setback for the Never Trump movement, which, again, we've seen already throw a lot of resources and effort into taking down Trump. It hasn't happened. They're looking to claim a big victory tomorrow night and be able to really deny Trump some delegates that he needs to get to 1,237. And so this is an interesting inflection point on the road to Cleveland for sure.
Eli, so let's say Trump loses Wisconsin, but he's still leading in double digits in New York and Pennsylvania. So does it really matter?
Well, this will embolden all those Never Trump forces, those donors, to keep ponying up money into that super PAC. People that think that Trump can be stopped, if they are able to deliver a strong setback in Wisconsin, they can look at that. They can look at some of the failures on the Trump campaign's part to actually, secure the delegates that they should be winning, like in states like Louisiana or states like Colorado, where they're electing delegates this last weekend and next weekend, where Trump has not been able to win any delegates. They're looking at the lack of organization on the campaign's part and the fact that this movement, this anti-Trump movement, is now starting to come together. Those will give them some confidence, give them more confidence going forward into New York, a state that, yeah, it's Trump's home, and yeah, he holds a pretty big lead there, but there are also going to be a lot of voters there that are not so sure about whether they want Donald Trump to be the nominee. And so I think it will be a fight going forward. And it's been a long time since we've had a real competitive New York primary. Been even longer since we've had one competitive in California in June at the very end of the calendar. And I think that the longer this goes and the more of a split result that we see, all those people who say, oh, I'm endorsing Ted Cruz, really what they're saying is we just have to stop Trump. And the longer that Kasich and Cruz continue to eat up some of these delegates and keep Trump from hitting that threshold, that 1,237 number, the more the anti-Trump forces will say, okay, we've still got a shot to get to Cleveland and stop him, whether it's with Cruz, whether it's with somebody like Paul Ryan, or, some sort of Hail Mary pass on the floor to nominate somebody else. Who knows? But for those people who are really dug in and don't want to see Donald Trump be the nominee, every day that he doesn't claim the delegates that he needs to get to 1,237 is a good day, and it keeps them fighting.
Let's talk about that number, 1,237. When you do the math, can Cruz reach that number of delegates, or is his best chance at picking off enough delegates from Trump to ensure a contested convention?
Yeah, he's playing for a contested convention at this point. I mean, even after Kasich won Ohio, I think, the high watermark for his campaign, I believe on the same night he was mathematically eliminated. At that point, he still needed about 105% of the remaining delegates. Not real possible. Ted Cruz is almost at that point. Even if he wins Wisconsin, I think he'd need about 80% of the delegates or so remaining, maybe more than that. And I just don't think that's likely given how scattered we've seen this race, and the fact that Kasich does not seem to be going anywhere. Trump's still going to do well in some of these northeastern states. And so really at this point, the only number that matters is Trump, 1237. Does he get there? Does he not get there? And I think Ted Cruz, even though he, for a long time was saying, well, I'm not playing for a contested convention, I'm going to win this nomination outright. I think now he's saying, I'm going to win this nomination, but he can at least see and accept and say out loud that he's going to have to win it in Cleveland.